Good, whatever time of day it is that you're joining me here today. My name is Tyler. I am the host of the Consequences of Communication podcast. Today we're on episode 8, Building Relationships, Dating Continued, and DTR, which is Define the Relationship, which I think is lacking in a lot of relationships, actually. But before we really get started in anything, it's really cold in Texas. That's why I'm in what I call my winter gear, my nice skillet beanie, which coincidentally just lines up perfectly with the camera instead of in the middle of my forehead like it normally does. So I'm just gonna leave it there. But I have a button-up flannel. I have a hoodie on, a zip-up hoodie on it. I don't know if you heard me doing the zipper thing, but I thought it was kind of funny. And then pilot jacket, kind of like where you could put like patches and stuff on it, and pretty much it's all black. But it has patches on it from Skillet Songs, which is my favorite band. I digress a little bit, but it is cold in Texas today. And this is actually the recording. I'm recording this a day before I'm supposed to have this uploaded. So, that's my bad. I try to have this I try to record the Saturday after I post my last video. So, since this is being posted tomorrow, which for y'all is today, at least on the day of recording. So, I'm supposed to post this tomorrow, and then this Saturday, which is 4 days later, I'm supposed to record the next episode. That's how I'm trying to do that, which I have been failing at that, and it's just been putting it longer and longer. Hoorah, procrastination. It's something I'm working on. Anyway, I'm just trying to be open and honest with y'all. So today we're talking, like I said, about dating continued and DTR, define the relationship. The 3 points that we're going to be talking about today are how you feel compared to the list and red flags that you have, like the list that you want in a partner and the red flags you have with that list, what you need to continue to do, and when do you commit to exclusively dating each other. That's what we're going to be talking about. And as normal, before we get into it, I got a question or a couple questions for y'all to think about as we go through this today. When you are dating somebody but are unsure of committing to the relationship, meaning you are being indecisive on the relationship, what do you do? How do you handle that situation? Do you bring up the status of the relationship, or do you wait until the other person does? That's really what I'm getting at here. So keep that in mind as we go through these points today. So last episode we talked about starting a dating relationship, where to find a potential partner, where to go on the first date. If everything went well with that, then you should have both agreed for a second date. And what does that second date look like? The second date is something that both of you can do and do something while still talking. So again, no movies, no concerts, at least not only concerts. Like you can probably go to like dinner and a concert if you guys both like, for example, Skillet. That's my favorite band, and if it's not your favorite band, then I think you're wrong. And that's a subjective truth. it's, it's my favorite band. That's the objective truth. But that's my stance. And that's that like funny banter thing that I was talking about last week, or the week before, or the last episode, or the episode before then, when we were talking about lists. Banter, or introducing yourself to somebody and have like a little banter thing going on. Same kind of thing that I'm doing right now. But you want to make sure that you're still able to talk and communicate and hear each other clearly while doing something that you both enjoy. Here are a couple other things that we can look at instead of going to a bar or club or a movie or something. Putt-putt golf, bowling, board games, playing cards, etc. You can also go walking around like national parks or just a park in the local area. Like do a picnic style thing. Right now in Texas, it's kind of cold for that. It was snowing earlier this morning, which like shuts everything down basically, which I was surprised it didn't today. I really am surprised. I just realized that. But now there's still like a small layer of snow frosting my yard. Walking is probably out of the option for anybody living in Texas, unless you're from a northern state or can deal with the cold like I can because I'm from Colorado originally. But you want to do something in a public area, like even a double date would work. Go out on a double date with a couple of your friends, like your friend, like your best friend, his girlfriend, or like and his significant other, spouse, girlfriend, wife, whoever that may be, or with their best friend, and their spouse and or their equivalent, because you guys are going to be friends anyway. Like if the dating continues, you guys are going to be friends anyway. Why not do something fun? Because you get to see them in a group setting fairly early. You get to see how they interact with their best friend. I know with my best friend, he calls me out on stuff. He'll be like, "Dude, why are you so nervous right now?" And I'd be like, "Dude, shut up." That kind of thing. Um, oh, that's kind of funny because he totally would. But he's also one of the only people that I can, like, well, him and his wife, I could be myself around, and that'd just be encouraging to be myself around my date. And that's really what you want. You don't want to lie about anything, right? We were talking about honesty earlier. You want to be open and honest with your list, what you will and will not tolerate. Again, your list of like these are good things, and then your red flags. You also want to make sure that you guys can hold conversations with other people as kind of like a couple. So it's like many different factors go into it, or many different things can be checked while going into a double date kind of scenario. Well, from that double date or the second date, you should still have an enjoyable time, still keep the conversation fairly light, enjoyable, maybe ask some serious questions. If they're having trouble or they give you kind of like a weird look, be like, I'm not asking for every detail. Just give me like the top view. Give me the back of the book version, which is just, the summary of the book. Because everybody's life history is basically a book. It's just whether or not it's enjoyable or not. Each page is a day. Find out some more information, but try not to dig too deep. I like to have as like a preamble to all of it. Like, hey, I have the question. Feel free to answer it however you want. Like, or tell me, hey, that's too personal right now, and I'll hold on to that question for later. I mean, you could do that. Like, what's stopping you from doing that? Because it shows that you're curious about them and you're interested in them, but you're also respectful of their boundaries. You see what I'm saying? And as long as that date goes together and you both agree to, or goes well, you both agree to it, then a third date happens. After the third or fourth date, you should have a pretty good idea of what they mean to you and how they can help influence your life and how you can help influence their life in the best possible way. Not the like, oh, this person has a lot of money. That means I don't have to work and I don't have to do anything and I could just be at home lazy playing video games or scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. That's not how that works. What I mean by that is, hey, even though they make a lot more money than I do, I think I bring value in this area where I notice that they're lacking in their life. And it's not just like a man saying like I'm the breadwinner, so you have no say over money. Like, no, that's stupid. But on the flip side of that, it's also for men and women. But it's true that if you have the mentality of I'm perfectly fine the way I am doing this bad habit, and I know this is a bad habit, but when I'm interested in somebody, I'm going to stop this bad habit. What? In my opinion, no, you're not going to stop this bad habit. You may stop it for a little bit, but as soon as you have an argument or disagreement or get irritated or pissed off at your partner, you're going to go back to this bad habit. And it's going to destroy what could have been something amazing and beautiful, but you refuse to work on this as an individual. And that's part of the reason why I've stayed single for the last 8 years now. Shoot, no, it's been 9 years. Dang, because we're in 2024. Yeah, divorced in 14, in December 14. 9 years. Dang, it's been a long time. But I had a lot of stuff to work through. So because I've able to work through all of that, deal with all that baggage. I'm not bringing it to the table in my next relationship. That's already dealt with. It's just a pamphlet now. Like, it's nothing that they have to work through. It's like, hey, this is what I dealt with, or this is what I went through. This is what I dealt with. This is why it took me so long to get through all of this, and this is what set me up. This is how I've improved significantly since then. And I honestly believe I have, and my friends, because I check with my friends. I have accountability partners to help, like people that I have sitting at my table that can speak life into my life, and I hold what they say in high regard. They've also seen major improvements because I check in with them all the time. Well, not all the time, like a couple times a week, a couple times a month. And now, that was quite a bit of a rabbit trail. But continuing on, men, you should feel at peace. Women, you should feel protected and safe. Like on a basic level. Men, if you don't feel at peace, don't continue. And be honest with them. Like, hey, I think you're an enjoyable person to be around. I see us going no further than friends because of ABC. And women do the same thing. If you don't feel safe and protected, then say, hey, I don't see us going anywhere, even like whether that's friends or, hey, I want to part ways. Be honest with them. Hey, I want to part ways because you're really weak and you don't walk on the outside of, like, you're not gentlemanly, and you don't it doesn't seem like you protect me. Like, I don't get the feeling of you protecting me when we're out. Here's like another feeling that you should have whenever these events happen. When somebody calls, or when this person calls you, your date calls you, are you like, oh my gosh, this is this person again? Are you kidding? Or are you like, hey, this person called me? Like, there's obviously a difference. One's like a kid, playful, like, oh, I'm so excited they called me back. That's my reaction. And I think that is something, because you have joy when they call you. You're happy when they call you because they're thinking about you and they care about you. So whenever you get that phone call or message or meme or whatever, it's also known as your heart skipping a beat. Like that feeling of like, oh, they're calling. This is a surprise. I'm so excited. Now comes the most difficult romantic puzzle. After you go through that, making sure that if you're a guy, that you're at peace, if you're a woman, that you feel safe and protected when you're with this individual, and then you also get that like smirk, happy, butterflies in your stomach kind of feeling whenever they call, text, or send you a meme or something, or a short video. The next thing is a difficult part, because we have all these benefits, but we also need to make sure that we have our list of cons that we're also following, to make sure, because that list that we set up is our checks and balances for ourselves. We just need to follow through with it, which is why it's important. After the few dates and you're like, oh, this, she checks this, and this, and I don't know about these red flags yet. Well, that's a conversation that you need to have. Not necessarily about your red flags, but, and you don't be like, hey, I need to check out my red flags and make sure that you're safe for me. No, you just bring it up casually, like, hey, I just have a question. How do you feel about going to church? Which is my red flag. My green flag is you have to go to church, and you have to be serving in the church and working in God's will for your life to be a candidate for me to date. Like, that's my green flag. So if they don't go to church, then I have to end it. I don't have to end it. I'll be like, hey, how do you feel about going to church? I haven't heard you mention anything. What are your beliefs? And then she'll tell me her beliefs and whether she goes to church or not. Oh, well, are you interested in coming to my church? See what you think? Because most of my friends are from church, and that's a great way to introduce people. Is in a public environment, in a group setting. You want to make sure that whenever you find something out, or if they said something that is a red flag for you that's on your list, then you're not just ghosting them. You tell them, like, you be like, hey, let's go out for coffee today, or boba tea, or ice cream or something, and be like, hey, I do appreciate the time that I spend with you. However, like, I don't see our relationship moving forward any closer than friends, because you don't go to church and we don't have the same belief system, which in my partner, my ideal partner, we would believe the same things, and that way we would have a firm foundation to build a family structure on, a family life on. And unfortunately, I don't see that with you, but I do see you as a friend. Maybe not those words exactly, but I could just imagine people saying these words exactly and then finding out later. Anyway, I digress. Again, it's going to be one of those podcasts where I digress and have to edit out a lot. But you don't want to ghost them. You want to make sure that you're open and honest with your communication. If you have a feeling in your gut of like, and something just doesn't feel right about this, then that's probably correct. And you can investigate that. Be like, hey, I have a gut feeling that something else is going on, or whatever that gut feeling leads you to believe. Then you ask them about it straight up. Just ask them. You can also preface or preface it with, hey, I don't mean any disrespect by this, and I've thought how to ask this question, but I don't see any other way to ask this question. But what about, I have a gut feeling about this. Or you don't even have to say you have a gut feeling. What's your opinion on politics right now, or whatever your interest is, or whatever your gut feeling is telling you about? Or on the more simpler side, do you like chocolate milk? I have a feeling you don't like chocolate milk. Well, my sister gave me a hard time growing up, and she still does, with the way that I say that. So instead of chocolate milk, I actually say chocolate cow juice, which is kind of weird. But welcome to my life, like Simple Plan says. Now that you have not confirmed red flags, or if there are some red flags that are still there, then the next time you see the person, you need to ask, just like I said earlier. This is literally the fastest way to get your answer. Trust your gut, ask follow-up questions so you understand the situation. You don't want to misunderstand a situation, because what if once you understand something that they're saying, because we all have our own lenses. You have your own lenses. I have my own lenses that I look and hear the world through. How you say what you intend might not get your intentions across correctly to me through my own worldview, which is why I would ask you a question. And I would hope you would do the same for me, which is that because my own worldview is unique to me as an individual, just like yours is. So if I say something, which I probably have said something that you don't understand, or I didn't say as I intended, not saying that you're not smart enough to understand me, but I'm saying that there's sometimes that I say things that are don't make any sense or that are not said very well at all. It's a habit of mine that I try to work on, which I'd appreciate it if you let me know down in the comments or in a review of what you would like some clarification on, so I can try and clear that up for you. I would love to do that. You figured out your feelings for the other individual. Again, after 3, 4, 5 dates at most, you need to have defining a conversation in a public place, like a sit-down place, like I mentioned earlier, coffee, tea, boba, ice cream, frozen yogurt, something like that, where you can also have a little bit of privacy. I like coffee shops for that, and there's a couple of coffee shops here that have like patio areas where you can go outside and it's fairly private in that area. And then you need to let them know if you enjoy spending time with them and you want to pursue the relationship to marriage, which is the goal of every relationship, or should be the goal of every relationship that you have. You sit them down, like, hey, I really like. Of course, after the pleasantries, how's your day been? You doing well? What's going on with work? Like, not in that tone because I'm being kind of facetious right now, but you want to be genuinely curious about it. Like, oh, how was your day? How are you doing today? And then even if there's something from the last time she told you about her day that from last time, like she was dealing with a problem at work. Oh, how did this problem resolve it? Like, how did you resolve this problem, or how did you deal with this problem at work? It shows interest. Then after that, as a guy, I think you should be the one to initiate. But women, feel free to do the same. And whenever you are on the receiving end of this, listen and ask questions if questions arise. I do appreciate spending time with you. Username, don't just say generic statements like I am. We'll say, I don't know, Alba. Alba, thank you. Like, I do appreciate spending so much time with you, Alba. I've really enjoyed how you're kind, you're charismatic, you're funny, you're hilarious. Actually, you're not just funny, you're hilarious, and you're very attractive. And I'm interested in dating you in the pursuit of marriage to eventually have a family and build a life with you. And I want to make sure that my intentions are crystal clear, and we do this now, because if I'm interested and you're only partially interested, that's something that I don't want. So I want to make sure that you're also as interested as I am, so that 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, you're wanting to leave. And we may have already bought a couple houses together, or bought a house together, have kids together, whatever, and you decide that you want to leave. That's just a horrible life for everybody. So I want to avoid that. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page. And if a woman tells you that, guys, be open and honest. Like I said, as the guy, you need to step up and be the leader God made you to be, which is why you need to start the conversation and let her know that you see a future with her, if you actually see a future with her, or be like, hey, I don't see a future with us being more than friends. And here's the reasons why. You're kind of rude a couple of times when we went out on a date to the servers, and I don't appreciate that, because that shows that you're not as respectful as the woman that I'm looking for. Make sure that it's clear. So it's basically an exit interview for dating, if you want to put it that way. Even though it's not really an associate, it's a relationship. Everything's a relationship. If it's you and somebody else, it's a relationship. If it's you by yourself, it's a relationship with yourself. Like, it's all relational. And then women, respond with the same kindness, openness, and honesty as what I just described that men should do. If a man tells you that they don't want to pursue a relationship with you, and you wanted to, I know it's going to suck, and it's hard, and it's a difficult situation, not just for women, but and men, or not just for men, but for women as well. It's hard when you want someone and they don't want you. But at that point, it's just easier to terminate, cut all connections, and move on. Terminate the relationship, like terminate all contact relationship. So there's no contact anymore. That's the best way to do it. So if they say no, if the men say no to continue dating and you wanted to continue dating, let them know that. And be like, oh, that's really unfortunate. I actually really enjoyed your company and you showed great qualities, and I would have wanted to continue this to marriage and the life beyond. Once you part ways, just leave it there. No more communication. If it is the other way around, men, no communication. Just stop communicating, because the last thing I want in a part, this is one of my red flags, by the way. If I'm talking to somebody or if I'm dating somebody and I find out they're still talking to their ex, if there's no legitimate reason, like they're not sharing custody of a kid, or if they have a child, then that's a red flag for me. I don't want that at all. But if they don't have custody and I don't know that until a certain point, and I figure out that they have, or she's talking to her ex because of her child, okay, that's fine, but you got to prove it. But if it's like, hey, you're childless and you're still talking to your last 5 exes, that's a habitual pattern. Like, you're stringing those 5 people along. Like, why are you still friends? Like, what? No, you're no. That's horrible. Because if we get in an argument, just like before, if we got in an argument, those bad habits that I was talking about, if we get in an argument, are you going to cry about our relationship to your exes? And they're going to see that as an open door of a way of getting back into your life. So just no communication. That's the best, absolute best thing. Worked out for me very well with my 2 ex-wives. So at this stage, the worst thing is if you want to continue the relationship and the other is on the fence, which isn't real, you're lying to yourself, and one doesn't want to be in the relationship, but they say they do just because you said they did. Like, that's maybe a little bit confusing. So if I'm on a date with somebody and I'm like, hey, I want to continue dating, and they're like, hey, I really don't want to continue dating, and they don't say that to me. They say, yeah, I want to continue dating, because whatever fear or reservations I have about continuing of saying yes and giving it my 100%, whatever these reservations are, I'm gonna hold on to those and then not talk about it. Like, and that's one of the biggest disservices that you can do in your life. Think about it this way: you want to go to an ice cream, or you want to go get an ice cream sandwich when the drumstick is superior, but the drumstick is a little bit more expensive, a little bit more skill to eat and enjoyed over a longer period of time. I know y'all are an ice cream, but I would prefer a drumstick that is enjoyed over a longer period of time and costs a little bit more over something I could eat in 5 to 6 bites. The point of this analogy is that I'd regret settling for the ice cream sandwich when I could have had a drumstick option. Do not settle for an ice cream sandwich. So what I'm saying is, that situation, when someone's on the fence, you're debating settling for an ice cream sandwich. So just decide, no, cut it off, go look for your drumstick. Again, not to, I know y'all aren't ice cream, but I thought it would be a funny analogy and a really fun one, because I want to go get a drumstick now. But if both of you truly want to continue dating, explain what that looks like. Courtship into marriage, dating forever with no plans of marrying. Like, you need to discuss what that looks like. And then getting to this point in my own relationship, I explain I don't date just to date. I date with the intent to marry, so there are clear guidelines. This is where men need to stand up and say what they want here. This is also where I would emphasize the fact that there's no sex until marriage. And maybe ways that you can, maybe not talk about this in public, but maybe like when you're driving in the car or something, be like, hey, I've struggled with this area, so if I say no, we can't stay at your place, or you can't come over and watch a movie because I'm the only one here and it's 9 o'clock at night, then you're gonna have to take me at my word. I'm trying to prevent a moment of passion that would have otherwise been avoided. And that getting physical too quick in a relationship destroys it. That's all you can focus on, is the physical and not the deeper character. Because if all that you focus on is sex in a relationship, you're focusing on a paper thin relationship. It's a veil. And to help prevent that from being the case, no sex, no sexual contact, like kissing, okay, but like pecks, not like full on makeout sessions that get the hormones going. That's no. None of that. Like, those are my guidelines. I'm just sharing those with y'all to give y'all examples and where I draw the line. Like, that's not going to happen. Cuddling isn't going to happen until we're probably closer to marriage, like fiance level. And I'm a believer in, given my past experiences with having a shorting dating period and a short engagement period, I am satisfied with about a year of dating, 9 months to a year of dating, with at least 3 months of being engaged. So 9 to 12 months minimum of dating. 3 to like 4 months is the range of being engaged before marriage. So you're looking at least a year from starting to date until marriage. Maybe a year and a couple months. That's how I look at it. Now, the timing of the wedding could be different, because if that comes up in like right now, in the January time period, but you really want a summer wedding, then yeah, you're gonna have to wait a few months longer. But that's all between. I'm just telling you all my standards and my ideal for that. So the DTR is also kind of where you break down what the rest of the relationship looks like. Be like, hey, this is where I'm weak and tempted, and I'm also looking for someone who who has my back in my weaknesses. Like, I struggle in this area. I struggle in this area. I struggle being social in this particular aspect. Can you help? Like, I need you to help me in these situations, or like big parties, groups bigger than about 12, 15 people. I don't necessarily do well. I like staying in the corner and observing and like finding my own little clique. And it's only like 2 or 3 people, if that. There's social butterflies out there that are like, hey, I'm the life of the party. Like, I know everybody here and talk to everybody. I go around and make those connections and stuff. Like, that's good to have, but that's definitely not my personality. But what is my personality is I'm pretty good at research. I love technology. I love games. I love strategy in everything. And this podcast is actually part of a overall strategy that I have that is just in my mind right now. Like, I have the ideas down. I don't have anything else written down. I don't have any other avenues for this. I'm waiting on that. Like, I would love to have this be an interview style podcast where I can start asking people their perspective on a lot of the stuff that we're going over and see where our views differ. Because I think that'd be really, really cool. I digress a lot, but you want to make sure you have those standards set out so that you know what to expect from them and they know what to expect from you. And whoever starts that conversation, you need to be respectful and ask them what they're like. Once you're done explaining your ideals on what the relationship looks like moving forward, and be like, what do you think about any of these points? Maybe just go one by one of like, hey, I don't believe in sex before marriage. That's not going to happen. I don't put out. What do you think about that? And then have the discussion. And of course, no means no and yes means yes. Again, going back to what I said earlier, no sexual contact is the best thing to maintain prior to marriage. So, revisiting the question, how do you handle differences in wanting to continue dating somebody? Do you consider your red flags or just what you're feeling at the moment? I've been in both of those situations. Sticking with your red flags is definitely a good thing. Like, making sure you're following those guidelines, because you literally set your own guidelines. Why aren't you listening to yourself? If you're not listening to yourself, then why listen to me? Your homework for today is look at your current relationship, or if you're single, look at what you picture your future spouse to be. Are you committing yourself to be the kind of person they are needing in their life? Start working on yourself to be better with and for them. And it goes back to the caliber that I was talking about when we were making our lists. If you want a certain caliber of person, you need to make sure that you bring some qualities that are of similar value. That's all there is to it. If today's episode of Consequences of Communication podcast helped you, then please like, subscribe, share, comment, or if somebody came to mind when I was going through this, please share this with them and get their opinion about it. Talk it over. I think it'd be a great thing for you. The next episode of Consequences of Communication is going to be the 29th of January, which is in 2 weeks, of 2024, the Consequences of Communication podcast, episode 9, Building Relationships, Courtship. I'll talk to you on the next podcast. Until then, take care and catch you later.